Hi, good evening. Welcome to Business Live. My name is Darryl Kwao. Coming up tonight, Parliament approves Finance Minister's supplementary request for 11.6 billion cedis. We'll be live in Parliament where the minority is seeking to pass a vote of censure against the minister for spending extra on the COVID-19 fight. Also tonight, Joy Business set to hold jobs and salaries roundtable tomorrow. We have a look ahead to the event which takes place at the Labadi Beach Hotel. And as government moves to ban overaged and salvaged vehicles, we'll tell you about the home use car service, which allows users run background checks before purchase. That's on the Joy Business van. Stay with us, everyone. Details right after this break. Parliament today approved the supplementary request by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, for 11.6 billion Ghana cedis. But that was without drama, as the minority sought to pass a vote of censure against the Minister of Finance for breaching the Fiscal Stability Act by spending extra sums on the COVID-19 fight. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins me with more. Joseph, so the Finance Minister has got the all clear to spend the money he requested. Let's begin from there.
And this was after the debate on the request was actually concluded today, led by both the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, and also the majority leader, Chimen Sabonsu. A number of arguments were made even before the approval was eventually given. The minority leader has been raising concerns that the country's debt stock is reaching proportions that are actually unsustainable. He, based on that, went on to make the argument that the Fiscal Stability Act that was passed by Parliament in December 2018 and subsequently assented to by the President, which requires that when it comes to budget deficits and expenditures in terms of borrowing, that's particularly on the expenditures on borrowing, shouldn't go anything beyond 5%. And that act specifically says that if even it goes a percentage point beyond 5%, sanctions should apply against the Finance Minister who supervised that. Haruna Idrisu was making the argument that we've seen a breach of that act, and so those sanctions should apply, except that there's been responses from those on the majority side. Dr. Marcus Beyeboa, who is the chairman of the Finance Committee, makes the argument that that same law makes provisions for what they call force majeure, which could be a situation that may arise, which were not foreseen. And the law specifically makes a provision for public health emergencies being one of the said possible force majeure situations. So despite the argument by Haruna Idrisu, the minority leader, the majority makes the point that he didn't read the law to the fullest of it, which is how come he's making all of that argument. But on that, earlier today, the Finance Minister laid before Parliament. In fact, when that document was laid, although he was expected to lay it, he wasn't around himself. The Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, Dr. Kutose, laid a separate paper in Parliament today, asking Parliament to suspend the act in question in terms of its implementation to allow for the Finance Minister to spend beyond that, because now we're gathering that the amount in terms of borrowing is hitting somewhere around 7.4%, which is far above what the Fiscal Stability Law requires. And we're gathering that on that specific request,
All right.
For the suspension of the act, Parliament's committee, another committee will be sitting tomorrow to look into that as to whether they should agree with the Finance Minister's request for the said waiving of that law in particular. But eventually, the House approved the supplementary budgetary estimate, and now the Finance Minister has all clear to spend the amount.
And so the minority is seeking today to pass a vote of censure against the Finance Minister for breaching the Fiscal Stability Act. Talk to us about what transpired. What was the outcome of that?
So the processes having begun, nothing has been filed in the House. What has happened is the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, serving the notice that this is something that the minority will do. And all the explanations that are coming up that COVID-19 related expenditures have been on the high side, which is why this has become necessary. It's not something that they on the minority side are buying. First of all,
okay, apologies.
The expenditures have been going up long before COVID-19 became a big issue, and they think the economy is being managed in a very irresponsible manner, which is why they need to get those sanctions applied.
Okay, we'll keep following that. Thank you so much indeed, Joseph Opoku-Gapo, live for us from Parliament. We apologize for the quality of network connection there, but that's the latest from Parliament, approving the 11.6 billion Ghana cedis requested by the Finance Minister. You're watching Business Live.
Are you aware that nearly 200 million people could end up without jobs by the end of the year? Workers and businesses all around the world are facing serious challenges, and Ghana is not an exception. In light of this, Joy Business is organizing a Jobs and Salaries Roundtable dialogue to discuss sustainable solutions to aid in the preservation of current jobs. The theme for this discussion is working towards sustainable jobs during and after COVID-19. Date is 30th July 2020, and the venue is the Labadi Beach Hotel. Time is 10 a.m. On the panel are Bright Rekobrobe, Deputy Minister for Employment; Austin Game, CEO, Game and Game Group; Rose Kakari Anan, Deputy Chairperson, National Labour Commission; Alex Frimpong, CEO, Ghana Employers Association; and Frank Adeto, National Projects Coordinator from the International Labour Organization. If you've been affected by the recent layoffs and willing to share your experience or want to participate, call 0596 913438. The Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable discussion will be live on Joy News, Joy 99.7 FM, and myjoyonline.com. Joy Business, empowering, prospering together.
And we are going to be talking about what you just saw. Joy Business is holding a very important discussion tomorrow, focusing on sustainable jobs during and after COVID-19. The Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable, which takes place at the Labadi Beach Hotel, will bring together key players in the employment industry to deliberate on these issues. So joining me in studio is Odilia Ntiama, who is Head of Business Programming here at the Multimedia Group. And she joins me for a look ahead to the event. Great to have you in studio. Yeah. I remember the Industrialization Forum was a great one. And so now we are continuing with the Jobs and Salaries Roundtable. I don't need to ask you why we are discussing this, right? But talk to me about, talk to me about it.
So remember that in America, it's very easy for you to be able to tell even the number of people that have lost their jobs. The numbers keep going up. Yeah. But here, if you actually went online to just find out exactly what was going on, how many people have lost their jobs during this COVID, it's not there. But remember that Act 651, which is the Labor Act, requires that we set up like employment centers where people could just easily go fill a form, say I've lost my job based on that. So the question is, how will this insurance package, which government will be giving to the unemployed, how is it going to be disbursed? Because they need these figures to be able to tell it. After that, how did even government disburse those kinds of stimulus packages to various businesses? These are all questions on our minds, and we'll be putting them to the Deputy Employment Minister. And
it's not just about those who have lost their jobs, but those who are seeking to be employed.
Exactly.
And then the focus on sustainable jobs. Exactly. What jobs can you get this time, and how long can you be on that job?
True. So you notice that you have also companies that are in a dilemma as to wanting to do the right things. They just don't have the money to sustain the workers in their businesses anymore. They need to let some go. Some companies are doing half salaries. But did you also know, for example, that all of this, the company will need to discuss with you first. But certain companies are just going straight away, just issuing half salaries, sending people home without really telling them. At what point should companies even make a disclosure of what is actually sitting on their books should you really know as an employee? All of these things are some of the things that we'll be discussing.
Interesting you bring up salaries, because I've been bugging you for a raise, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that after the program.
That's a good one.
And so what speakers are we expecting at the event?
Yeah, so we're expecting Frank Adeto, who is with the ILO. We're expecting also Rose Annan, who is coming from the National Labour Commission. We're expecting Labour expert Austin Game. Austin Game is actually one of the framers of the labour law in 2003. So it's very good that we get him there to put it in proper perspective. I'm hearing that there's actually going to be a review pretty soon. So this conversation really sits at the right place.
Nice.
Bryce Reko-Brobe, who is the Deputy Minister for Employment, he'll be there providing proper perspective as to what government is doing, looking at the long haul. There have been changes in what we even do now at the workplace. Companies are looking at working virtual. If we're going to do virtual, it means that it's likely that some people will lose their jobs. What is also the skill set for us as a people going virtual? And when you look at our educational system, does it fit into this kind of skill set that we're looking at? So that is why we will have somebody like the minister actually there. We're also getting Alex Rimpong, the Ghana Employers Association also there. And then the TUC boss will also be there.
And these are the big names when we talk about employment issues. So we've got the big names there. And for those who have experienced layoffs during these times, you are also encouraging them to be a part of the conversation.
Exactly. What we're saying is that we just need two people who've had like really outrageous experiences to just come and share at the Labadi Beach Hotel. Because of social distancing issues, we can't have everybody there. And so it's strictly by invitation. If you actually think you've had a bad experience and you'd like to share, just call 0244-604224, and then we will vet your experience and determine whether you can be there.
Okay, and so that event set to take place tomorrow at 10.
At 10.
So because of COVID-19, everybody can't be there. So how can others be a part of it?
Okay, so it's going to be live on Joy FM. It's also going to be live on all our social media platforms. And then we definitely will get it also across all the platforms for television.
All right, sounds exciting. Thanks very much indeed. That was Odilia Ntiama, who is head of business programming here at the Multimedia Group Limited. We'll still talk about my raise, which is which is very important. Thank you.
It is important. You work hard.
Well, moving on to the banking sector, Standard Chartered Bank Ghana has been able to secure blessing from the Bank of Ghana to announce dividend to shareholders for the financial year 2019. The development, according to the bank, is due to its significant performance for the year in spite of the challenging banking environment. Board chairman of the bank, Dr. Emmanuel Kuma, disclosed this at the shareholders at the virtual annual general meeting. And here's a report by Eben Sabute.
Well, again, I mean, these are uncertain times, so they're not ideal times for banking. But the services are required, and we're committed to continuing to serve.
The bank recorded a strong growth with underlying operating income increasing by 20% from the 2018 results. This growth, according to the managing director, Mansanete, is the highest percentage growth in the last 5 years. As a result of this success, the bank is going ahead to pay dividend to shareholders in contrast to directives from the central bank for a suspension of dividend payment due to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. According to the board chairman, Dr. Emmanuel Kuma, Standard Chartered Bank is one of the banks given the green light to pay dividends.
Although we recommended the non-payment of dividend in the annual report, we have subsequently obtained approval from the Bank of Ghana to do otherwise. The board is therefore recommending a dividend payout of 1.56 Ghana cedis per share. This represents a 50% increase on what we paid for 2018. During the year, 2 new members were appointed to the board. So Sheikh Job was appointed Executive Director, and Mr. Kwabena Nifaini was appointed Independent Non-Executive Director.
Managing Director of the bank, Mansa Neti, added her outfit will be working strongly with clients that are likely to be affected by the pandemic to find a sustainable solution of mitigating the impact.
Working with vulnerable clients through this period, we can help reduce the impacts of the crisis on the business. We, however, continue to seek the opportunities in growth areas of the economy consistent with our strategic priorities, which we believe will mitigate the risks. We would also draw on lessons from the difficult periods the bank has been through in the recent past to minimize expected losses. This is evidenced by the recent announcement of our landmark 78 million euro structured financing of the Eastern Regional Hospital in collaboration with the Export Credit Agency of the UK government.
Standard Chartered further posted a strong profit before tax of more than 424 million cedis, representing a 30% increase in year-on-year.
Now, government's move to introduce a law that bans the importation of overage and salvage vehicles has seen some pushback from vehicle and asset dealers. The new law, when passed, would also mean rigorous background checks on vehicles imported into the country. Today on the Joy Business Van, we meet creator of the home used car service, which enables users to run checks on vehicles to ensure they are not making the wrong purchase. If ever you wanted to purchase a home-used car, I bet this is what you do. Check an online site for the model you want, arrange to meet the seller at his garage, inspect the vehicle, ask a few questions, get assurances, and then make a decision by an act of faith, hoping you got a good deal. Kofi Ejapong, like many of us, has been through this experience.
I wanted to buy a car in 2016, somewhere June. So I went to a popular vehicle listing site that we all know, if I can mention it. I went to Tonaton and I said the vehicle on Tonaton, and fortunately I found one. So I met the guy somewhere. We arranged a meetup. I looked at the car. I asked the person, okay, is the vehicle accidented or is it a clean car? And then the answer is straight, it's a clean car. But later on I checked and the car was accidented.
And that was what motivated the systems auditor to create the service, Home Used Car.
In Ghana, about more than 70%, or let's say 50 to 70% of vehicles will be imported from the US. And I will confidently say that about 70% of the vehicles imported from the US are damaged, because the buyers, or let's say the sellers, want profit. So they obviously go for the damaged ones and then repair it up and then sell it to you at the prevailing market price.
That obviously puts the vehicle owner at risk, not to mention the cost that goes into repairs. The service, which is enabled by an app, is not exactly new, but the first of its kind here in Ghana. It took about 2 years to get the essentials ready for the service to be rolled out in March 2019. Data is secured from over 100 companies across the world.
They give us manufacturer information, they give us information about the condition, and they give us regulatory information. So for accident information that maybe you mostly get from our side, we get it from auction companies like IAI, Copart, and a lot of the auction institutions or organizations that are in the US.
Next, we head to the garage to try the app, which is available on iOS and Android devices and also on web.
Made in Canada, starting with the 2. So it means it's made in Canada. And the manufacturers.
This is great stuff. And so if I wanted to purchase a car like this, of course, I'd like to know the history of this car, and that's where your app comes in, right? Yeah. So tell me how I can go about it.
Okay, so all you need to do, if you want to check the history of the vehicle, all you need to do is download the app from our platforms, that is Android and iOS. Also on the internet, you can check it from the internet. That is homeusecar.com. On the iOS and then the Android platform, it's also home use car, used car, or Hooker. The Hooker is H-U-C-A. H-U-C-A. If you get that, you just download the app, and then you go ahead right away and then check the history of the vehicle.
All right, so we detect the chassis number, which is this one.
Yeah.
So we are going to input that, and then we are going to get the history of the car.
Yeah.
All right. Once you input the chassis number, you immediately get information, including vehicle accident history, extent of and cause of damage. It also performs damage assessment with 10 images. Once you make payment, the report is delivered to you. Kofi tells me since March 2019, about 2,000 vehicles have been checked through the app, and there are more than 1,000 users, mainly driven by social media. And he gets good feedback too from users.
Our major challenge here is to ensure that we are building the market trust, that people trust that whatever information we are saying it is, or we are giving them, is actually correct and is authentic and is not faked. It's not something that someone sat in his bedroom and drew up some plans to sell, but it is actually the fact. So we needed to make sure that the market trust is built up, and then people believe what we are telling them.
The other challenge is getting information on vehicles from other continents, and acquiring data is expensive. Still, Kofi and his team work around moderate charges and ensuring that at the same time, they're not running at a loss. They're planning to introduce other related services.
What we plan doing for the next couple of years is to contact some of our B2B customers that we think they will use the application, especially for insurance companies. They will use it for detecting fraud and preventing fraud of claims. We want to scale to the other African countries, especially the Nigerian market and Kenya, South Africa, and maybe the Middle East, because the Middle East also import vehicles from the US. So actually we have clients from Nigeria. We also have clients from Dubai, that's UAE. But we intend to do more of the advertisement drive this year and the years to come, and then talk more with the insurance company, advocate that when they are insuring a vehicle, they should check the condition before they insure.
Now though, you saved all the frustration and from unbudgeted expenses. All right, and that's our program tonight. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. You can read more about an upcoming interview we have with Asamoah Boateng, who is the chief exec of the state-owned enterprises, state institutions and governance authority. He's going to be talking business bonuses, allowances of state-owned enterprise workers slashed over COVID-19 losses. Look out for that interview. Also, don't forget to be a part of the Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable. As we have been talking about tonight, we've got the top-notch industry players to speak to us about issues concerning jobs, salaries during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching. We are back same time tomorrow.